We'll start the cage fighting in the lunch break. Right. It is difficult to synthesise the broad-ranging discussion on plan making in the two sessions, and I apologise to participants if this synthesis is imperfect. Rest assured that the scribe was much more actively taking notes than I was. But I think there were some key themes that came through, and also some obvious tensions, as you would expect with a diverse group of people talking about such a complex topic. One of the messages that did come through strongly is that plan making and strategic planning is critical. It's important that we have a commitment to planning and that we're serious about implementing those plans over the long term. The view that planning should be long term and that it should have a clear hierarchy and relationship between different planning instruments at different levels was a theme that also came through strongly in our session. One of the interesting points that was made about the levels of planning is that it's not just about local, regional and state planning, but it's also national. And we need to think about the way that our planning system fits in to the nation building and policy aims of Australia as a nation. Integration was a common theme across both of the sessions. Integration between levels of planning with a clearly nested hierarchy and a simple relationship between those instruments, but also between integration of expertise, so input from relevant agencies into the preparation of planning instruments, and at the highest level, a whole of government approach, not just to the making of land use plans, but to the development of strategic planning overall. And this was one of the messages that came through particularly strongly in the first session, was that strategic planning is not simply about land use planning, but it is also about the way that you integrate considerations such as infrastructure strategies, natural resource management outcomes, and so on. So integration was a recurring theme. Certainty was also a recurring theme, but it clearly meant different things to different people. And getting that tension right between certainty and long-term planning as compared with flexibility was something that came up again and again, but in different forms, and it was quite clear that certainty meant different things to different people. For stakeholders who are involved in development, certainty means in some cases being clear that you can go ahead with a particular development provided that the zone allows for it. But for professional planners and councils, there was a view that certainty needed to be about actually implementing long-term strategic planning goals over time. So it was clear that whilst there was common ground on certainty, there was a range of views on what that actually meant and the degree to which long-term strategic planning and flexibility are compatible, or how you best integrate them. It was made clear that good strategic planning requires resources and high-quality information. So if we are to place increased emphasis on strategic planning, we need to ensure that the resources are available to do it well and that we have the best available information going into that process. One of the specific points that was made is that strategic planning needs to be founded on robust economic analysis, and that strategic plans that economic analysis and expertise needs to be factored in a meaningful way at the strategic planning stage, so that you actually have development proceeding in a way that's consistent with the strategic plans and its overall goals. There are a number of people in both groups that expressed the view that within the existing system, that certain aspects of the planning system are working well. There were councils who were very proud of their LEPs and the process by which they were created. So there was a view that the essence of the plan making process, particularly at that LEP scale, was sound and should be retained, but there's scope for much better integration between levels and a continuing debate around the balance between certainty and flexibility. There was a view that meaningful community involvement in the plan making process is achievable, and that it is important to get planning outcomes right. To ensure that we have the highest quality of community involvement, a number of participants expressed the view that a particular standard of community involvement in different types of planning decisions should be mandated, that it should be proportionate to the nature of the changes being made, and that it be based on the best practice and best available technology. There was a common view that we must learn from interstate and international experience, and that should be an integral part of the reform process. and also that many of the fundamentals of the legislation are in fact sound, but it's the manner in which the legislation has been implemented and modified over time. So I hope that's a fair reflection of the views expressed in those two sessions. Was there anything wildly inaccurate? No, okay. The cage fighting will be out in the foyer.